They rejected me when I needed them most. They regretted it later. Those words still echo in my mind every time I remember what happened at my lowest point. I was 30 years old, standing alone in a cold hospital hallway, holding a phone that kept ringing with people who claimed to love me, but none of them were willing to pick me up when I fell. My name is Claire. I was born in Ohio, raised in a family that always said, "We're here for you." But when life truly broke me, they all disappeared. Maybe they thought I would stay quiet, accept their excuses, and keep loving them the same way. They didn't know that the silence they left me in slowly built something dangerous inside me. A fire, a plan, a revenge they would never forget. It all started the night I lost my job. I worked at a real estate marketing company in Columbus. I wasn't rich, but I was stable. I paid my bills on time, sent money to my mother, and helped my younger brother whenever he needed gas money. I wasn't perfect, but I tried to be good to everyone. That's why I trusted them. That's why their betrayal cut so deep. The company suddenly shut down. One email and everything was gone. I walked out of the building holding a cardboard box with my name written on it, trembling in the November cold. I called my mother first. She didn't pick up. I called my aunt, who always said I was like her own daughter. She declined the call. My best friend, Laura, didn't even bother sending a text back. I wasn't crying because I lost my job. No, I was crying because, for the first time in my life, I realized I had no one. That same evening, my landlord called. Rent was due. I asked for 2 weeks. He refused. I swallowed my pride and called my parents again. When my father finally answered, he sounded irritated, like I had interrupted something important. "Claire, you're 30, he said coldly. "Handle your own problems. We already gave you enough help in life." They had never helped me with anything. I stood there staring at the wall for a long time after the call ended. The house felt darker, smaller. I felt like I was shrinking inside it. 3 days later, something worse happened. I collapsed on the kitchen floor with severe stomach pain. The neighbors found me unconscious and called an ambulance. At the hospital, the nurse asked if there was anyone I wanted to call. I laughed, a weak, broken laugh. But the medical bills were real. The consequences were real. My family's silence was real. Still, I tried once more. Maybe I believed they just didn't understand how serious things were. I sent a message to our family group chat. "I'm in the hospital. I really need help, please." I watched them all read it. All of them. Not one replied. I saw the green, online, light under my mother's name. I saw my father posting on Facebook about some barbecue event. My aunt uploaded photos of her new handbag. I felt something change inside me at that moment. Something cold, sharp, and strangely peaceful. They rejected me when I needed them most, but I knew one day they would regret it. After 2 days, I was discharged. The doctor recommended someone stay with me for a week. I had no one, so I signed the papers and walked out alone. When I returned home, my landlord had taped a notice on my door. Eviction in 10 days. That night, I sat on the floor of my empty apartment. There was no furniture left, no food, and barely any money. But for the first time in days, I wasn't crying. I was thinking. I was planning. Revenge doesn't come from anger. It comes from clarity. I realized something important. If they could turn their backs so easily, it meant I had never meant anything to them. If I wanted justice, if I wanted peace, I had to build myself in a way that made them regret every choice they made. The next morning, I packed my clothes into 2 bags and left the apartment behind. I found a temporary room in a cheap motel on the edge of town. It smelled like cigarettes and old paint, but it was quiet enough for me to think. I started applying for every job I could find. Days turned into weeks. And then, finally, it happened. I was hired at a small marketing agency owned by a woman named Evelyn. She was strict, sharp, and terrifying, but she believed in me more than my own family ever had. 2 months later, I was already leading campaigns. 3 months later, my salary doubled. By the 6th month, I was earning more than I ever had before. But here's the part that still makes me smile. My family had no idea. They thought I was still broken, still struggling, still desperate. They had no idea how strong I had become, how successful, how independent. And they had no idea that their moment of regret was coming. It arrived sooner than I expected. One evening, while I was reviewing a project, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my mother, the same mother who ignored every call when I was lying in a hospital bed. "Claire, can you come home this weekend? We need to talk, it's important." I stared at the message for a long time. And then I smiled. A slow, cold smile. It had begun. They needed something from me. And I was finally ready to give them exactly what they deserved. When my mother finally texted me after months of silence, I knew something was wrong. She didn't ask how I was. She didn't ask if I was safe. She didn't apologize for ignoring me when I was lying in a hospital bed. "No," she simply said. "Come home this weekend. It's important." Important for them, not for me. I didn't reply. I wanted her to wait. I wanted her to feel the same cold uncertainty I felt when I begged them for help and they turned away like strangers. Hours later, she messaged again. "Claire, please, your father is very stressed. We really need to talk." Stressed? I almost laughed. Where was their stress when I was choosing between paying rent or buying food? Where was their worry when the doctor told me I shouldn't be alone? Where was their concern when I begged in the family group chat? After letting her panic for a full day, I finally responded with one word. "Okay." The silence that followed felt powerful, like I had taken back something they stole from me long ago. That Saturday, I drove to my parents' house, the same house where they raised me with big promises and empty love. The neighborhood looked the same, but I wasn't the same girl who left months ago. I had money now, confidence, a career, a fire burning in my chest that they didn't know how to put out. When I walked through the door, my mother rushed toward me with a dramatic gasp. "Claire, finally you're here. We've all been so worried." I raised one eyebrow. She stopped talking. We sat in the living room. My father was packing like a man waiting for bad news. My younger brother, Tyler, sat on the couch scrolling through his phone. No one asked how I was doing. No one asked if I had a job or a place to live. No one apologized. Finally, my father sighed and said, "Claire, we need your help." There it was. The truth. The real reason they suddenly remembered I existed. "Our house, it's at risk," he said slowly. "We might lose it." My mother folded her hands tightly. "We fell behind on some payments. We just need a little money to fix things, just until next month." Little. They needed $48,000. I saw it in the documents they placed on the table. My brother stared at me like I was an ATM he forgot to use. "You're working, right? You can help." A wave of anger rose in my chest, but I kept my voice calm. Too calm. "Why me?" My father blinked. "Because we're family." That word, family, hit me like a slap. Family was what I begged for when I was lying alone in a hospital room. Family was what I needed when I couldn't afford food. Family was what I called over and over while they watched my messages and did nothing. I leaned back in the chair and looked at all three of them. "When I needed you," I said, "where were you?" My mother opened her mouth, closed it, then looked away. My father rubbed his forehead. My brother actually rolled his eyes. "It wasn't that serious," Tyler muttered. "Not that serious." The memory of the doctor saying I should not be alone flashed through my mind like lightning. My father raised his voice. "Claire, you're being dramatic. Everyone goes through things, but right now we need you." I studied their faces, the panic, the desperation, the arrogance. And in that moment, I made my decision. "I can help," I said softly. Their eyes lit up. Their shoulders relaxed. My mother even reached for my hand. "But," I continued, "I'll only help under one condition." They froze. "What condition?" my father asked. My voice was calm, cold, controlled. "You will sign the house over to me." The silence was beautiful. Like the universe, itself paused to watch what would happen next. My mother's face went pale. "Claire, this is our home." "Yes," I said, "and when I begged for help, you left me without a home." My father's jaw tightened. "That's blackmail." I smiled. "No, that's consequences." He tried to argue. He shouted. He even pointed his finger at me like I was still the scared little girl he could control. But that girl was gone. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and walked toward the door. "You have until tomorrow evening," I said. "If you sign the papers, I'll pay everything. If you don't, then you'll lose the house anyway." My mother burst into tears. My brother cursed under his breath. My father looked at me like I had betrayed him, but deep down, he knew the truth. I wasn't the one who betrayed this family. They betrayed me first. I left the house without looking back. The sky was dark, but I felt lighter than I had in years. For the first time, I had the power. For the first time, they needed me more than I ever needed them. Later that night, my phone buzzed. It was my father. "We'll sign the papers. Come tomorrow." Just like that, their pride collapsed. The next day, I returned with a lawyer from my company. My family looked broken, angry, small. They signed the house over to me with shaking hands. My mother whispered, "Claire, how could you do this to us?" I looked her straight in the eyes. "You taught me." Then I quietly added, "You taught me by doing it to me first." When the papers were done, my father asked softly, "You'll still pay the debt, right?" I nodded. "Of course, I keep my promises." I transferred the money in front of them. The house was saved. Their future was stable again. But they no longer owned the home they defended so fiercely. I did. They rejected me when I needed them most. And now, they finally understood what that rejection felt like. But my revenge wasn't finished yet. Not even close. The day my parents signed the house over to me was the day everything changed. They didn't know it yet, but that signature was only the beginning of their lesson. I didn't take their home to ruin them. I took it to show them who I had become. Someone they could no longer ignore, control, or discard whenever they felt like it. For days, the house grew colder between us. My mother tried to act normal, pretending things were the same. My father avoided eye contact. My brother barely spoke. They were all waiting for the storm, waiting for the moment I would do something cruel. But I wasn't cruel. I was calculated. I gave them exactly what they gave me, silence. Weeks passed, and they finally realized something they never expected. The house might be in my name, but I wasn't moving in. I wasn't coming back to Sunday dinners. I wasn't calling them with updates. Life was calm for me, uncomfortably calm for them. Then, one afternoon, I got a call. Not from my parents. Not from my brother. From a neighbor. "Claire, your parents, something happened." My father had collapsed while working in the garage. Stress, exhaustion, and guilt, it all hit him at once. He was rushed to the hospital. The same hospital where I waited alone, ignored by the very people who now desperately needed me. I arrived to find my mother packing the hallway, her eyes red, her voice trembling. She looked at me like I was her last hope in the world. "Claire, please, he needs a procedure. Insurance won't cover everything. The bills." Her voice cracked. She covered her face. "We don't have the money." My brother stood at the end of the hall, staring at the floor. For once, he wasn't angry or arrogant. He looked scared. The universe had a strange way of balancing things. Just months earlier, I asked them for help in this same building. They left me alone. Now they stood in the same place, begging. My mother wiped her tears and whispered, "Claire, we're sorry." I waited for those words. I thought they would make me feel powerful. But standing there, looking at their broken faces, I realized something unexpected. Their regret didn't heal me. It didn't fix the nights I cried alone. It didn't erase the memory of seeing my messages, seen and unanswered. But it did give me something I never had before, closure. I walked up to my mother. "You ignored me when I begged for help," I said softly. "You watched me struggle and you felt nothing. You taught me that family only cares when it benefits them. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. We know we were wrong. I turned to the doctor, who stood nearby waiting. How much is the procedure? He gave me the number. It wasn't small, but I had it. I could pay it without damaging my life at all. In that moment, I made my choice. I paid the full amount. Not for them. Not because of love. I paid because I refused to become like them. I refused to let their coldness turn me into a monster. My mother broke down crying, thanking me over and over. My father, half conscious, squeezed my hand with the little strength he had. But I didn't stay long. After the paperwork was done, I stepped outside into the quiet night. The air was cool, and a soft wind moved through the parking lot. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. A week later, my father came home. They expected me to return too. They waited for me to bring groceries like I used to. They waited for me to text, "Good morning." They waited for me to pick up their calls. But I didn't. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. One evening, I sent them a final message in the family group chat. I helped because it was the right thing to do, not because I owe you anything. We are not the same as before. I wish you a good life, but I am choosing my own now. No dramatic lines. No fights. No more begging for their love. Just peace. After that message, I blocked every number. Not out of hatred, but to protect the woman I had become. I built a new life in a new city. A better job, better opportunities, better people. People who showed up for me without needing anything in return. Sometimes, I still think about my old house, the one that now legally belongs to me. My parents live in it, but it stands as a reminder that power shifts, life changes, and people eventually face the consequences they try to escape. They rejected me when I needed them most, and they regretted it later. Not because I punished them, not because I destroyed them, but because I rose without them. And that was the sweetest revenge of all.